Okay, here's another example of looking for some good supporting evidence. Here my thesis is AIs hold enormous promise to make our lives better, but could also do enormous harm through malice or negligence. In this essay, I'll explain why failing to recognize the signs of AI doom can have catastrophic consequences. So I'm going to need some of these catastrophic consequences, and I want to sort of dangle things about, the promise and also the harm that can be caused as well. So I don't know, this one I just remember from the book, lots and lots of good examples, right? Things like self-driving cars, right? Lots of promise, but could also have sort of a backlash effect and really cause a lot of harm as well if they're released before they're ready and cause additional accidents. Incorrect medical diagnosis, AI bias. There's lots of good examples of basic, things like an example I remember from earlier in the class, I forget where I read this, was about this AI incorrect facial recognition issue. So here, wrongly accused by an algorithm. So there's a really, big story on this in the New York Times. So that would be a potential source to use to talk about all the sort of trade-offs involved there. You notice I've also got sort of those signs of AI doom in here. So those signs of AI doom are quite important to what I want to write about. And let's say that my model, so signs of AI doom, I'm going to write about those. Let's say I'm using a model that, say, this Google Cloud Vision demo worked really, really well and does a very good job for many different classes of images. But again, it's still an AI, it's still subject to limitations. So here's an example of that sort of adversarial attack. There's examples of this, I think, in chapter 7 of the book. And here is a website here where you can write text to generate an image that will try to trick one of these image recognition AIs. Here's another example. A tennis player on a court generates this horrifying image. And what it gives you, it recognizes this as a face, which, I don't know, I guess it thinks this is a person with 73% confidence. Labels, a lot of things related to people, kung fu, animation, t-shirt. I guess this looks sort of like a t-shirt, or maybe a discombobulated dress or something like that. And it is reasonably likely that it's a spoof, but overall not a very good job with this image. This, attack was relatively successful. Here's another example, a person with an angry expression on their face, this horrifying face-like thing. And the AI is 65% confident that there are glasses here, 57% confident that this is a person. And some of these labels are really high, so face 98%, which I guess it's not a very recognizable face. Facial expression 94%, eyewear 94%. I mean, there's nothing really recognizable as eyewear there, really. Lots of like nose, cheek, head, forehead, chin, lip, which there's a little bit more evidence that those little pieces are in there. Cool human photography art. Vision care, painting, it does look sort of like a painting, so that's not terrible. Happy, 54%, I mean, that's not a very good description. This is horrifying looking, certainly not a happy expression. So again, just an example, but this could go into the paper as, discussion of some of these AIs that exploit the flaws in other AIs and the ways that that could be used, again, sort of malevolently if, people aren't careful. Again, I would have a lot of good chance to refer to the Janelle Shane book by talking about the signs of AI doom, right? The way that the AI really doesn't understand your problem because, you can feed it those really grotesque, chopped up pieces of faces, and the AI is still very, very confident that's a face, even if it really doesn't look like a face to a person. The AI brain isn't really working the way a human brain does in that same situation. So again, lots of good examples and ways to use the different evidence from our book, outside sources, and your AI model to back up your thesis.